PokerStatic.com. We bring you the interviews you want to hear. Now, with your hosts, Bret Oliverio and Eric Bickel, the Poker Static Hot Seat.
What's up? Welcome to a brand new edition of the Poker Static Hot Seat. Bret Oliverio with Eric Bickel. Tonight's guest is PokerStars pro Lex Veldhuis. Lex, what's happening?
Hey, what's up, guys? How are you doing?
Now, where are you talking to us from?
I'm in Holland right now. I'm at home. Just home because I'm grinding W Coop. So yeah, I'm just chilling at my house.
He took today off, Bret, because he was so stressed out about this very important interview. He wanted to get his mind right. Right?
Yes,
Wait, are you being serious?
Well, part of the reason is, I mean, I've been playing for like 2 or 3 or 4 weeks nonstop. I don't even remember. So, I mean, it's a good day to have the day off. And, I mean, the way I like to play online doesn't really go well with doing, a long interview where you have some interesting questions or something. So, I mean, it works both ways, but it's a good day off.
Now, obviously, you're a legendary grinder. When do you decide, you know what, I'm gonna play for 3 straight days or one of those crazy sessions that everyone talks about? Does that you just sort of do that on feel, or how do you determine when you're going to go on a poker bender?
Sometimes it's just complete randomness. I used to when I started playing, I would just play till I was tired and then sleep till I woke up and then play till I was tired again. So I've always kind of played whenever I wanted to, never took my schedule into account. The 3-day benders are kind of a combination of sometimes I'm running good, sometimes on complete full-blown tilt, and I, kind of settle down again, and I try to, start grinding back my money because either my image is so perfect because I'm tilting, and sometimes, I just enjoy playing and I just don't feel like quitting yet. So it's a combination of everything, I guess.
Now, when you decide you're going to sit down and play, is there any table selection at all? I got to imagine when you're playing 18, 24 tables, whatever, there's very little table selection.
It used to be that where I would not table select at all. Also because I just wanted to get good. Like, I would play Hellingall on 10-20 or 25-50 heads up, and there were plenty of other games running, but I just wanted to play him. Or, I've played against Phil Ivey heads up with my last money, but it's just because I like the challenge. I don't necessarily think it's smart. I don't think I should have been doing it after Americans weren't able to deposit money online and stuff anymore, because it was way harder to rebuild bankrolls. Because when you used to just blow 150K taking a shot, then you could just rebuild that in 1.5, 2 months playing 5-10. But after a while, it didn't work like that anymore. So I've been table selecting a lot better, but then some days, the devil comes out and it's just kind of okay, let's see how I do. And, I don't mind that because it makes me better as a player, and it makes, me be able to make a lot more money in other games because I played against tougher players.
Now I'm sorry, Bret. You're sort of legendary for making some sick runs, right? You turned I know there was one thread on 2+2 where you turned $300 into 55K, then you ran it up into 100-some K, then you lit it on fire. And it may have had some point where you did that 5 or 6 times in a month or something, where you just had these sick runs where you just turned a little bit into over 100K. How do you have that ability to do that?
There was a certain point, and I would just grind 5-10, and then I started to play higher and play heads up, and I was like, wow, this is real poker, I mean, there's so much tension going on, there's so much adrenaline, I really like playing like that. And then I've had this period of time where I'm just trying to get to the 200, 400 games and trying to get a bankroll to be able to settle there. And I don't know, there was that one time where I grinded $300 to 55K and then 240K, and I just lost it all. And then a couple of weeks after that, I've had a 7-day period where every single day I would borrow 5K from a friend because I was broke at the time. I would borrow 5K from a friend, run it up to 100, lose it before the night was over, and then do that 6 times in a row. It's not something I'm terribly proud of or anything, but I mean, it was kind of fun. And every night I just went to bed thinking, okay, tonight I didn't get to 1 million, so maybe tomorrow. So,
wow.
Yeah. I mean,
sorry, I was going to say, now you were talking about the 5-10 game like it's not real poker. It's so easy for you to beat that game and run it up. You're saying, oh, well, finally I'm at real poker playing these 25-50, 50-100. To me, 5-10 online is a huge game. What is it about that game where it was so easy for you to beat and sort of run it up?
That's definitely also talking about the 5-10 game that it was 3 years ago. I mean, now I think most of the regulars, the only difference between the 5-10 game and 25-50 game is that some just don't have the bankroll or the fearlessness with money that the 25-50 people can have. But in those days, I mean, it was kind of soft and it was easy. I mean, these are times where you would read threats on 2+2 saying, oh, I raised with ace-king and somebody's 3-betting me, and guys like A.E. Jones would say, oh, you have to fold because you're out of position. I mean, that's the time of 5-10, where I'm kind of getting at. And but just, I think also what really got me about the higher stakes is the heads-up factor and the amount of money on the line. So I definitely think that 5-10 is real poker, especially nowadays. I mean, 5-10 is a pretty hard game to beat with how good everyone is on average these days. So, yeah, I mean, it was definitely talking about 5-10 back in the day.
Do you still get action heads up?
Yeah, plenty of action. And I think a lot of a lot of people, I think a lot of heads-up regulars definitely see me as action or see me as a spot because I don't grind that stuff, and I'm not really a regular in any type of poker game online anymore, apart from PLO right now, because I've been kind of going back and forth, and then I didn't really know what to do. I didn't want to play that high stakes anymore, or I didn't really want to grind that much anymore, so I've been kind of in a funk, but now, because of PLO, it kind of reignited everything. So, but I definitely think I would get tons of action heads up, and because it's not like I've proven myself to be one of the best heads up players in the world or anywhere near that.
Right. Along the way, have you been able to set aside some money? You've gone busto so many times, you borrow $5K. Along the way, did you ever learn, let me set aside some money so next time this happens, I have a little bit here to replenish on my own?
No. It's also where I feel that if I would have had that mindset where I was concerned about that stuff, or I was thinking about that stuff, I would have never been able to play in the games or do the stuff that I did. So I guess you kind of choose, or not choose, or you kind of follow your character or your mood in poker. And if I had stuff in the back of my mind, I could have never played optimally on those stakes. So
what is the point then? Is the point then just the rush? Just the thrill of learning? Because it's almost like you're destined to fail that way, right? Or no?
Yeah, but at the time it seemed like not such a bad idea because the higher stakes games were kind of soft, and I mean you had you had some pros that were playing high that were really fundamentally kind of bad that were still playing high stakes online, or where most of the guys kind of jump-started their bankrolls in the 200, 400 games that were kind of soft back then. And I was always able to grind it back up. And I just thought, I was like 23 or 24 at the time. What do I got to lose? I don't have any responsibilities. I hardly have any costs in my life. It's just money, I can build it back up whenever. And when I do, I'd rather be really good by then than just a kind of a in-the-box grinder type player.
Now, you're a legendary video game player and, of course, online poker player, but you do have some impressive live results. How did your sort of online game transfer your live game? Because I imagine you're used to sitting in your house, grinding it out, during video games or playing online poker, and then you got to sit at a casino and play a 4-day tournament where you may or may not win a dime. What was that like for you mentally to handle?
I think just handling the slow pace and stuff like that has been very hard for me. Also, the adjusting, I think I just played pretty over the top for like 2 or 3 years. Other than that, I just think that live poker is a completely different thing than online poker, and I think it's very interesting of the psychological aspect. It's a lot more interesting because you're way deeper when you're playing live, especially in cash games. I still don't really like tournaments that much, and I've never really done that. So, but as far as live poker in general, I just think that the extra psychological ability it takes and the more information you have makes it really interesting. Plus, I like interacting with people and, hearing old Vegas guys just telling their stories and Sam Grizzle at the table ranting. And, I just think that live poker is real poker to me, and I definitely think that is something that I want to be able to play well in order to become a complete player.
Is it hard for you to concentrate? I mean, you go from playing 24 tables, 6 max, to playing one table live. I know just Bret and I, we're just little fish. We go play. I can't concentrate through one hand. I'm staring at people. I'm looking at the waitress, just shuffling chips. How is it for you when you're there all day?
It's something I've definitely struggled with, and it goes better the deeper I am. So if I'm playing, for instance, 10-20 at Bellagio, with like 30k stacks, you can do a lot, and you can open a whole ton of hands, and you can 3-bet people a lot. But I think it's definitely a leak of mine that a lot of the times I've been playing poker to play and not always to win, and it kind of makes you look like a sucker. And at the time, I realize when I'm playing like that I am, but I'm kind of going down a more enjoyable route. But it's definitely something that I had to mature in order to become better and realize, well, now I'm just being a donkey and I'm kind of just firing off, and I don't care about it, but it's not really constructive to anything in my life. So that's kind of the last 2 years have been where I've slowly started maturing kind of there.
Talk about your 7th place finish at the World Series of Poker. I mean, it was a $40,000 buy-in. You cashed for almost $300K. First off, did you put up the $40K yourself? Was that something you pieced out? What was that like mentally buying in for that amount? And you had a sweat to win the entire thing, but you finished 7th, but $300K wasn't bad. Why don't you talk about that tournament a little bit?
It's kind of funny because I used to always be. There was a time where even if I would play 200, 400 online, I would still be very hesitant to buy in for a 5K tournament because I didn't really like tournaments that much. I didn't really have any results yet, and it wasn't really the thing that I grinded in. But then the 40K came up, and I was kind of thinking that it's a good tournament anyway. And I actually asked a friend of mine to buy half, and I put up half myself. And it was by far the biggest thing I've ever bought in for. I started out playing pretty badly, and then it kind of started picking up. And it was one of the tournaments where I really felt like I could adjust. There was one table with Phil Ivey, Sorrel Mizzi, DeMichelle, Danny Stern. I mean, it just goes on and on, the people that were at the table. And I think I played tightest out of all those people, and that really was a personal victory for me, that I could adjust to a table and not just try to take it the aggressive route and always exit early. So I had a lot of confidence building up in the tournament, and of course, I hit sets when I had to. I had aces against kings when I had to. Just like everyone that needs to get deep in a tournament, you need those hands. Then when we were in the money, it was a huge bubble. It was a 72K bubble, if I remember correctly. I had built a lot of chips right before that, and then things started going kind of well, and I just coasted to the final table. I can't really remember struggling or ever feeling panicked or nervous about it. And then when we reached the final table, I kind of realized, wow, I made a WSOP final table of probably the toughest hold'em event it has ever had, and I was just kind of, dreaming, fantasizing about what can be and stuff. Of course it can jet set you, and I was just new with Poker Stars, and it's very important, of course, a tournament like that, because you don't get that chance all that often, and especially EV-wise, it's completely, out of the ordinary to be in that situation. On the final table, I lost a huge hand against Donnie Stern, where I lost Ace-King against Ace-Jack, and there was a pot for like second or third in chips, with some short stacks in it, with Donnie Stern away from from my left, and I finished
How did
seventh.
how did the hand play? How'd the hand play? Because I know you remember. You have to.
Yeah, I just opened in middle position with ace king, and he just shoved, and I think it's like 14 big blinds that he shoved. So obviously I just auto called with ace king, and he had ace jack. But what really stuck with me that hand is I would have had a really big stack. I don't remember the blinds that well, but I would have been second or third in chips, and I would have had Justin Bonomo, Isaac Haxton, Alex Torelli all to my right, and then I would have had Vitaly Lunkin, who ended up winning it, who's a little bit tighter, to my left, and also Ted Forrest and Noah Schwartz were very short. So it was very easy for me to put pressure on the people to my left and have all the aggro people to my right, and it was just a fantastic situation for me to use that stack. And I don't know, I felt really bummed for a long time after the tournament because I kind of felt like I missed my shot that tournament, and that didn't really make me like tournaments any better. Of course, I mean, it's a lot of money, but you have to understand, you know, with EV and everything and getting there and then finishing seventh, I mean, it's like when you get to the final table, it's like a completely different tournament and you just bust like third out. So
when did you realize, I mean, it's funny because I'm hearing you talk and you're mentioning all these names, and when did you, but yet I think of you in the same terms. When did you realize, oh my God, look at who I'm playing with, and I know them, they know me, I'm one of them, I'm just as big a name as they are? When was that breakthrough? When did all of a sudden you become just as big as the rest of them?
I've had that kind of quickly, where I just thought online, where if I would play against people like Matissa or Joanda or Daniel or whoever, that I just figured, you know, I've always looked at other people as a colleague. You know, I've never been, except for tennis when I was little, but I've never been a fan personally of somebody. I have people that I respect a great deal, but I've never been a fan as a sense, so I've never looked at other players or people like, oh my God, it's him, or, you know. So the only benchmark that I really had for myself was when I was sitting down at high stakes poker, when I saw the set, when I saw the chips. I mean, the first time I saw high stakes poker, I played 1 and 2 cents, so that for me was really like, wow, you know, it's been pretty sick kind of thing, but not within tournaments where somebody sits down and they think, oh my God, you know, it's semi-far, oh my God, or that's not really the way I look at it.
Now, I remember watching that when you were on high stakes, and I don't remember how you finished. I remember the hand, and I watched it on your website, the hand where you called down Doyle with bottom pair. That was a sick hand. First of all, remind us how you finished, and then can you go through that hand with Doyle and what you were thinking there when you called him down with deuces?
Yeah. I finished the first day I played like minus 200, I think, and then I won 110 back the second day. I actually have my whole bankroll with me to high stakes poker. So I'm kind of happy that I won some back because, you know, I had a couple rebuys. I didn't just want to single rebuy and then leave.
Right.
Even though I would have probably done that as well if that was all I had, but I was kind of just going for it. So I scraped all my money, cashed everything out. I kind of collected everything before going to Vegas. The first day was just a combination of taking good spots that went badly, picking bad spots because I wasn't adjusting to my image that went that day. So I remember that I was over at the set and I was already waiting for 7 hours, and they said, you know, we shot all our hands for today, so you might not be able to make TV, but you can play for an hour if you want. And I was like, well, yeah, sure, you know, I mean, it's also a big part of it is just to play poker, and I wanted to get unstuck. So I figured I only have an hour to play, so I first suggested to up the stakes because, you know, I'm trying to get unstuck, so I mean, it's better with bigger blinds. That was my reasoning. So I get to the table, and of course I immediately get this gambling image because I want higher stakes. So some guys remember me because I've been raising the whole time the day before that. So then I sit down, and a thing they didn't show, I get into this little, not really argument, but with Doyle. So I suggested they should up the blinds to 501K, and then Doyle takes back his 1600 straddle from the 400, 800 blinds. So I look over and I look at Doyle and I was like, what is this now? I thought you were a gambler.
Ooh.
So then Doyle kind of looks at, he looks at me like, who the fuck are you? So, so he says, I didn't know this was a back game or whatever. So I said, this is my own money. Try to win it, old man.
Oh.
So they did not show that. And I mean, I did not do it to seek him out, but I was genuinely surprised and, of course, agitated that he didn't straddle, because what does the $400 mean? So that all happened before that hand came up. So I kind of knew that, I kind of had this picture of him going, who's a gambler now, and just showing me a bluff in a hand, So I knew he was agitated by it, and
No, nothing. Did you?
Sorry.
So go ahead. So you said you knew he was agitated.
Yeah. So then I'm in the straddle. I straddle to 2,000, and it comes around to Doyle, and he limps. First of all, I think that any hand he would have had that he could attack me with, he would have raised my straddle, just to be aggressive. But he limped, so I kind of just thought he had a complete shit hand. I mean, it's still really marginal, but this is just the way I play live poker. I like to win those big games. And I made it 11,000 with 9 deuce of spades. The flop comes 6-3 deuce. I don't really see the point, after he checked, I don't really see the point of continuation betting, because I kind of made a pair, and I just want to go to showdown as I would when I would have had ace high in that situation, because it's the exact same hand, kind of.
Right.
So I check behind, and now the turn is a jack. Here he fires like 20,500, which is close to pot, or like, near pot anyway. At this point, I'm never folding because of set history, and also because I checked the flop. I mean, he can have so many combinations, like 7-8, like, I don't know, like Queen 10, like so much stuff that he's going to take a stab at the pot. So I decided to kind of auto-call the turn. Also try to do it with a little confidence, so that he's hesitant about firing the river, so I'm not going to sit there, and tank for like 1.5 minutes. So I called, and the river is a 4, so it's a 6-3 deuce, jack 4, and the 5 makes it straight now. And then he fires 60K. I mean, like, bam, 60K on a scare card, and he just grabs it and he tosses it out. And it just didn't make sense to me. Like, what hand are you happy with on the turn where you bet near pot and then fire like almost near pot again on the river with, when it's such a different board development? I mean, you go from a kind of high card hand to a kind of low connected type of hand, or a random 5. I mean, that's the only thing I was worried about, is that he would show up with a 5, but why would you bet near pot with that when my range looks like completely bad, especially with the straight completing? Because if I have a jack that I call on the turn, why would you really bet near pot on that river, if you have no history, if I'm a calling station or stuff like that? It's not really Doyle style either. I mean, of course, everybody always, the crazy gambler shoving flush draws and stuff, but I mean, he's been flatting with kings and queens and all that stuff on high stakes pokers and stuff like that, and I've been watching that a lot, so it just didn't really make sense to me. And of course, the fact that I really thought that he was going to turn over his hand and say, who's a gambler now? Also, he was stuck, and it was his first time in 18 appearances on TV that he was stuck, so he wanted to get unstuck. So all this information, I kind of just figured, well, I mean, it's the biggest hand I've ever played, but I have to follow my gut. So, I called, and luckily he showed me Queen Eye, and I was really relieved after that.
Were you screaming inside? Were you like going, yeah, because you played it cool?
Yeah, I was really happy. I was also really relieved, because if I would have lost that hand, I would have been stuck like 300K for the trip.
Right.
Of course, I'm not thinking about that at that moment, but I mean, when you make a hero call and you're right, there's just this sense of victory, or this feel, of confidence, and I really needed that. Not that I sat down without confidence, but it was a boost for me, and I think it was a really kind of a victory that I could overcome the stakes and the money in that moment, and just follow my gut and think, this doesn't make sense, I just have to press call.
Now, I was talking to you before we started taping, and I told you that watching that, Daniel drove me crazy, because right after you make that great call, he's kind of barely paying attention, and he goes, "Oh my God, don't bluff the guy in the red. Hey, everybody, don't bluff the guy in the red." And that would have driven me crazy. But you said it didn't bother you.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, what my plan was is to definitely be aggressive, but I don't like to be in the spot where I'm just trying to make hero calls and stuff all the time. So him pointing out that it might not be good to play back at me that much was definitely something that worked for my game plan. Also, at that time I didn't really mind it because I was trying to run over the table, and then I'd rather have people fold than try to make some hero bluff, and it just worked for me the way I felt that way. Plus, people are always going to say stuff, and I think poker is just about adjusting, so I just kind of have to calculate in my decisions how people are going to respond to Daniel saying that about my game. So, I mean, it's all good, I mean, people talk about stuff like that in live poker all the time, where they will mention stuff like that. So it's just, it wasn't something irregular for me.
Who did you?
What was it like?
Go ahead, Bret.
Go ahead. I was going to say, what's it like? We all sort of have had dreams about playing on high stakes poker, and you show up with your entire bankroll, which a lot of poker players might do. And the first night, you're down $200,000. I mean, how do you sleep that night? What's it like for you to show up the next day? And here you are. There's a good chance you're going to go busto and not have a dime to your name because of a TV show. Well, how do you handle that?
What kind of upset me the first day is that I'm never bothered by gambling with a big part of my bankroll if the spot is really, really good. But the first day, I mean, I think Dennis Phillips was the only non-regular at the cash game, and he was sitting to my left and playing, only hands where I wasn't involved in. I mean, no offense to Dennis, of course, but, I mean, the rest of the table was Durr, Ivy, Antonius, Negreanu, and Andrew Roble. I mean, it was just... So I kind of felt like a sucker the first time I lost. Not because I thought I played bad, not because I necessarily think I'm a lot worse than the other guys at the table, but just, was this really a spot where I want to put up that much money for? And, of course, I really like to be playing on high-stakes poker, but it's not like I'm some TV whore that just wants to play and I don't care how much I lose. I want to be on high-stakes poker, So, money-wise, I didn't really care about it. Just the fact, the way the spot came up and stuff like that, I didn't really feel good about it. So, especially seeing the other lineups. And, I mean, when I heard that, well, I kind of told Maury, the producer, please, I mean, I've made a lot of action today, and it was a very static table, but I've made a lot of big bluffs and moves and stuff like that. Please give me a shot to win it back on the next day. So he put me up on top of the waiting list, and I mean, I was just stoked that I got a second chance. And I mean, I think it would have taken me a day, but I don't think I would have been bothered much longer than that by it because, I took the risk, so I have to face the consequences.
Who did you leave most impressed with? You played against the biggest names.
I mean, I got absolutely torn apart by Ivy in a hand. So, I mean, I would have to say him because also he's the only person at the table where I feel a little uncomfortable playing hands against. I've never really, even though I played him heads up online, but it was way lower and it wasn't in person, I felt really kind of uncomfortable in hands against him, and it's the first and only time I pretty much ever had that live. And I mean, it's such an obvious answer, but yeah, I think Ivy, he just does stuff that's fundamentally weird, kind of, but it works out for him, and he's unpredictable, and he just makes it work against people who have very, very solid fundamentals, and it's really impressive to me.
How much of that is just his intimidation, the stare, how much of it is the sort of creative play, and how much of it is he's just flat out bullying the table?
Of course it is reputation and stuff like that, but he doesn't care about showing what hands. I mean, he walks away during the table and he loses a lot of money playing craps in the break, and he comes back and it doesn't faze him, and you can tell it's just kind of child's play to him, and it felt like something that he's been doing since he's like 18. I'm just kind of new on the block, and he has the type of game that'll punish me for it because he will put me to the test or he will see through my bluffs. And I think a part of it is reputation. Yeah, definitely. But I think also a lot of it is just table presence and the whole kind of I don't care about you attitude. You know, and
was he really doing that during the break, hitting the craps table?
Yeah, he would just walk off and he would be gone for like 30 minutes and he would come back and he's like, yeah, it didn't work out there, let's make it work out here or something, or he would win, or he would just randomly walk off. You know, you can tell, and that's so much different because, you know, I'm sitting there, I don't want to miss one hand, I'm there for the first time, it's like high stakes poker, and this guy is treating it like it's some kind of home game, you know, so, I mean, I seriously, I think he's the illest, and I knew that before the game, but that didn't really influence my feelings towards him. It's just his stable presence and the way I felt during the hands. So, you know, yeah, I mean, he was impressive.
Now, when you learned No Limit, and I know you're mostly playing PLO these days, but I want to get kind of your background. When you learned No Limit, did you learn it on your own? Did you read a lot of books? I know you're watching videos now, but is that what you were doing 4 or 5 years ago? Did anybody mentor you? How did you get to that level?
Just volume. I would just play and play more, and I never really read 2+2. I didn't talk enough with friends. My roommate was actually always playing one level higher than me, and that was really motivating to me, and he was really good at those stakes as well, so I would ask a lot of stuff to him, but other than that, I kind of had a really unprofessional approach to poker. You know, I would just sit down and play, and of course I would be on top of things because I would play every day, I would play against anyone, but I would definitely kind of just play, not watch videos, not discuss hands, and I mean, of course I could have progressed a lot faster, but I was the only person I knew with my roommate that played online poker. Like, I didn't know anyone else, so I would just, you know, play. I didn't know that people had discussion forums and stuff like that, so yeah, I've always had this kind of unprofessional, fishy approach in a sense, you know, where I would not use Hold'em Manager or Poker Tracker. I would not go through my hand histories. I would not discuss hands with people. I would laugh at people who game selected, you know, and I don't know. I mean, sometimes it's really bad and stupid, and sometimes it works out for me, you know. So you're a
genius. So you, like, when you were in school, I mean, you must have tested well at least. You may not have done well, but you must have tested well.
Yeah, I tested well, but I mean, you know, if I was really that smart, then I would have figured out people were doing all that kind of stuff, and I could have gotten better quickly. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, you can explain it. You can explain it every single way. I mean, to most people, they just think I'm stupid. You know, a lot of people that are very sophisticated players that are very good at progressing or coaching and all stuff like that. I mean, and I know that they look at me as some type of fish that just likes to fire off. You know, it's just approach-wise. I don't think that makes me like more talented or whatever. I just kind of, I really love the game, and I think that's my strength, that I kind of want to drown myself in it sometimes.
Yeah, but you are smart enough to land yourself a deal, of course, with Poker Stars. How exactly did you land that deal? Did you ever get an offer from Full Tilt? I mean, because talk about some luck with signing with Poker Stars. I mean, obviously you're still wearing the patch. So why don't you sort of discuss that for a little bit?
Actually, that came in around a perfect time where I kind of was in a lull for online grinding, and I wasn't doing too well, and I took some shots that I shouldn't have been, and especially, you know, played a lot of high-stakes cash games in Vegas during the WSOP. And then I think it was around 2008, the end of 2000. Wow, that's long ago. I think the end of 2008. It might be the end of 2009, but I'm pretty sure it's 2008. I was actually talking to both Full Tilt and Poker Stars at that time, and then I heard that Poker Stars, you know, they told me we're going to make a Dutch team, and I mean, I've always played on Stars. I've always liked their software the best, and I mean, I'm not saying that because of the patch, because I've always played there. So then it was kind of a no-brainer for me, also because, you know, I really liked the way that they treated people that I knew that were sponsored, like Elke or Noah Buchan or, you know, anyone, and you could also see the progression people could make within the company because everybody was there for such a long time, and, you know, people would keep getting re-signed. so during that time in the winter, we talked about it and we finalized the deal. And it wasn't official yet, but it gave me such a boost to play that I think in December and January that followed, I think I played approximately like 300,000, 400,000 hands online or something. So that really catapulted my, my confidence in poker, and it refueled my love for poker, and it gave me purpose, and it was a big payoff that I kind of needed, because I've been down and out for a year before that, sometimes having a lot of money, sometimes going broke, and playing tournaments, cash games, and it kind of brought structure to my poker life, and that's what I really, really needed at that time. So it was, in a way, it was kind of a lifesaver for me.
But what about Black Friday? Because both sites are hit pretty hard. Were you worried about your deal with PokerStars going away? Did you have a ton of money on Full Tilt, although you might not be able to? I don't think you're allowed to play on Full Tilt. But what was Black Friday like for you? When did you find out? And did PokerStars reach out to you? And they were like, look, everything's all right. What was that process like?
Actually, a friend of mine called me, and yeah, you're right. I didn't have any money for Tilt. I never really played there. And a friend of mine called me, and he told me what's going on. I was like, oh, this is kind of crazy. So I immediately went to my house, and I read up on the facts and stuff like that. Actually, it's kind of funny because, I don't mean to step on people's toes, because obviously Black Friday was a horrible day, but it was my best online session almost of the year, because I just figured, nothing can really go wrong. I knew, I have a lot of faith, even though, I work for them and stuff, but I have a lot of faith in PokerStars as a company, and also during Black Friday, and I was like, there's no way that this is going to go wrong. So, I can just play, and, I thought, on one hand, it was good to also have people on the site that played that were with the company. You don't want to see all the employees jumping ship first. So on one hand, I thought it was good to show confidence kind of in the poker world and in PokerStars to just play. And on the other hand, games were kind of soft because all the regulars were scrambling, but PokerStars handled their stuff well, and for me personally, it hasn't had any effect at all. And I'm just really fortunate because, of course, it's really bad if you're a supernova elite or just a grinder and suddenly, your online world ceases to exist. So for me personally, it didn't affect me at all pretty much.
Have you been surprised at the migration of U.S. players to, Vancouver and other places around the world? I guess we all sort of assumed this is what would ultimately happen, but to actually see it happen, it's kind of strange. We're losing some of our great minds, right? They're all moving out of this country.
Yeah, the only thing I was really surprised at is how long it took some other guys to do it. There were some guys that, were on top of the game of certain limits to do it, but it is really lazy type online grinder, just chilling guy. Yeah, I'm not going to move here. What, I have to move to Canada? It's really, I think for a lot of online grinders, it's very hard to socially adjust to a new situation like that because it has so much more than just a different grinding pad. And it's just necessary for them, whatever they got to do. And I just hope that everything will be resolved and that they can move back in a year or something like that. It's time for some regulation, I think. But in the meantime, they have to do whatever they got to do. And like I said, some guys like Sean Deep only moved to Mexico last week. And I'm not personally attacking him. I don't know whatever his reasons were, but he makes so much money. He does so well in online tournaments. I was just surprised that a lot of people didn't make the step earlier.
Right. Now you've made the transition to PLO mostly since the last World Series, right? Just kind of focusing your time there. What went into that decision? Is it simply you just want more action, or you thought it was a softer game?
Last year during the World Series, I was really intrigued by mixed games. I started just buying in for 10K horse, and I'd never played horse tournaments and stuff like that. So I just really had this hunger towards new games, and just seeing the learning curve or being at the bottom of it was really fun for me. I also had this idea this year, and I've made some really stupid decisions like buying into a 10K 08 tournament that started right after I busted a short-handed tournament, which is is kind of just torching money. And then I played PLO, and it really satisfied that hunger that I had for something new, because I know No Limit Hold'em is not boring, it's just so static to me. Like, the people that are playing it are very static, it's a very static community, it's a very quiet community, there's no old school people anymore really in the cash games that much. Tournaments is all like quiet people, and mixed games is kind of what is more real poker for me now. With the stories, the people, the atmosphere, it's fun to use your poker mind again in different situations that you've never done before. So I've been on this path to try and learn mixed games, and I've been talking to Daniel a lot about them and stuff, and he's been helping me out. And then suddenly I sat down for PLO, and everything kind of fit and everything came to life. So I put mixed games kind of aside for now, and everything is PLO, and I'm just loving it, and the action is insane. It's so good.
Do you feel more like a real poker player? Because, you're playing No Limit Hold'em. Everyone plays that game. And do you feel like more of a all-around, real, true poker player now that you're playing mixed games and PLO?
Yeah, I think that most people that play poker, when they say, I definitely agree with when people like Doyle make those statements. He's not top 10 poker player. He's one of the top 10 No Limit Hold'em. And most of those guys don't even know what to do with stud 8 and stuff like that. And I think that everything that that poker is comprised of, that you need to be able to do well in order to become a really good all-around poker player. So I just think that 90% of the poker community is a no-limit hold'emist, so to say, and the other 10% are just true, genuine, all-around poker players. And that's definitely my aim, to become one of those, because I think I'm mostly driven by love for the game, and not financially or not thinking about money-wise, and that's why I do stupid things EV-wise sometimes. But I just want to learn more about the game, and I want to master it, and learning PLO and mixed games is definitely the next logical step.
And now when you've made this transition and you've learned this game, you've definitely watched videos and done some reading and that sort of thing, right? As you've progressed through the ranks. I know I read somewhere where you've been kind of blown away, as everybody seems to be, by Phil Galfon's videos. Can you talk a little bit about that, and who else has kind of influenced you as you've learned PLO?
Now that I've matured a lot, and poker has matured a lot as a game, I know that there's ways to get better quickly. I also know that people in PLO, it's a very rough, uncut community. There's some people who are really good at it and they play really high. But if you look at the mid-stakes level, it's really rough still, and there's a lot of room for really dominating and finding out stuff that people just don't do on those stakes. So I kind of knew that if I wanted to take this seriously and try to catch up to some other people, I would have to really study the game. So I've told myself I have to watch or read like rough strategy, like really like text strategy, or watch a video at least 1 hour a day and then the rest play to really learn this stuff. So the first day that I really wanted to grind PLO, I started watching a video of Phil Galfond, and my plan was to watch 1 hour video that day, but then I ended up watching like 7 or 8 videos straight, because the way he explains it just makes sense to me, and I think it's really incredible that a guy with a poker mind like that can explain why he does everything so well, also while he's playing or while he's reviewing stuff, admitting mistakes. He explains every hand like 3 different ways. I could do this, I could do that, and I should maybe do this, but now I'm going to do this because of... And you soak up so much information, and it's just, I don't know, it's really cool to me, and I think he's just a cool dude, He just takes care of his stuff. He gives a lot back to the community, and of course most of it is business ideas, but a lot of it is just goodwill on his side, and I just really respect that, and I just think he's the illest PLO-wise.
Are you surprised a guy like Phil gives out all the secrets like that? Because it seems like he's not holding back in these videos.
No, if you look at that, he reviews hands against people like Scarevoy or whomever. So, those are people that are going to hurt his win rate the most if they watch those videos. I don't know Phil well at all, but what I know from him as a person, I'm not surprised at all. But I do think it's very unique that a guy from his skill level or stature talks about all his secrets that way. And the cool thing is too, I think that he knows how to adjust to the fact that Scareboy and all those guys can watch his videos, and he knows how to adjust to that well. So that's kind of cool in that way too. He just keeps adjusting, he keeps thinking about his metagame and stuff like that. But yeah, it's cool. Like I said, it's part business for him, of course. he's not doing everything out of charity, but I don't think that should stand in the way of the fact that it's really, how do you say that? Commendable?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Well, you know what I mean.
Is there anybody else out there who you respect that way? Did you put him sort of in that class?
I don't really know enough about PLO. I've seen some Brian Hastings videos, and I respect his game a lot, obviously. Phil Galfond personally seems to fit my style more, I think. As an action generator, I really respect Isildur for the stuff he's doing, for the way he looks at poker, because I see a lot of my character traits back when I watch him play. Sometimes you're just thinking, wow, you're such an idiot. Why do you sit down at PLO when, you're crushing everybody in No Limit Hold'em? But I can kind of understand, and that makes me relate to him as well. But I don't know. I think with Isildur is really yet to show if his PLO game is just madness or he's just, really, really rough talent at it. So, just skill-wise and composure-wise and stuff like that, I haven't really known much about the PLO community, but there's no one that I would say, Phil Galfond and him at this point. So, I don't know.
Now, it seems like you have matured from a playing standpoint. You're studying more, you're watching videos, you're trying to learn new games, but it seems like that gambler mentality where, you know what, I might risk my bankroll in a game. It seems like you still have that. Is that sort of, is that part of is your bankroll management maturing as well, or do you still have the same mentality as you did, 3 or 4 or 5 years ago?
I definitely have the same mentality, but now it's just numbers-wise. Game selection-wise, I've matured a lot, and now I can just, turn my back to a game and just say, no, I'm not going to play this. But if I like the game, then there's no limitations for what I'll put down to play it. I definitely go through phases. Sometimes I'm very mature, and I see people play under 200, and I think, no, that's not for me. I don't care. And then suddenly, I'm playing the big game and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, how did I get in this situation again, So, but it's definitely, anytime I do something, it's something that I'm comfortable with at that time, and that's the most important for me. So, if it feels good, then I do it, and if I think that it's a bad spot, I definitely recognize those more often these days than I used to. I think I have matured that way. Now,
you've made all this money at different times. You're willing to risk it at any given time. What have you done to spoil yourself? Come on, at any given time, you got a couple $100,000 at your disposal. You go out and buy yourself a nice car. Do you buy yourself a vacation somewhere?
Home or
anything? Have you done anything to treat yourself and to kind of live that baller lifestyle?
I bought just some materialist shit, like some watches or something like that. But I don't know, what I most enjoy, and this may sound, corny or very responsible in a way, but I just like to, do stuff with my friends. Buy season tickets to the soccer team Ajax here in Holland, and just go with 6 friends every Sunday. Just go on vacation with them, bring them to EPTs. That's kind of the stuff I enjoy most. Do stuff with Evelyn, my girlfriend, go on vacation. Just, stuff with my girlfriend and friends is what I enjoy the most. And I splurge, of course, and do expensive dinners and all that kind of stuff. But there's not one really expensive buy where I can say, well, I want that much, and I put it in that. There's just more oh my God, I won 300K, now I can play 300, 600 type thinking.
Now, what's
that like?
Go ahead, Bret.
What's that like for you and Evelyn? Where is she spending most of her time? When do you guys see each other? How does that work?
It actually works really well. We just travel back and forth. The tournament seasons kind of alternate really well. You have in the summer, we're in Vegas, and then we're in the, at the EPTs, and then in the winter there's Bellagio Cup, and we go back to Vegas. So we just travel back and forth between our places, and I'm getting along great with her friends and vice versa too. So, I mean, it's just effortless pretty much, and it really works. It's really great, and I think we complement each other in a way where sometimes, you know, she needs to take more risk or something, but a big part of it, she definitely keeps me, you know, with my head in reality, and sometimes just, you know, like, what are you doing? And that's all she has to ask, and I'm like, okay, yeah, what am I doing, you know? And, you know, she just, she's like a source of calm in my life, and, you know, that's amazing for me. It's exactly what I need, so it's perfect.
Plus, she's hot, so that's all you need.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's
you're good.
Tell us about the kickboxing with Elke. What was the derivation of that? When's this thing going to happen? Is there animosity between you two, or is it just I don't know, like a cocky thing going on? What's the story?
Elke and I have always had this competitiveness. Like, he did a weight bet once, and then I did one where we had to lose a certain amount of weight within a period of time, and we were going to do bench pressing, and I actually injured myself training for that. And there were a couple things, you know, there's always been competitiveness, I think also because we started out, you know, playing games against each other. Also, I think Elke doesn't realize how good he runs. Of course he's good, but, I mean, Elke, you know, he's like the sun, and sometimes I don't think he realizes that, so I think it's my place to punish him for it, you know, as a representative of everybody who doesn't win tournaments. Anyway, the bet kind of came, we were sitting on the terrace in Barcelona, and I was playing online, and it was W Cup time, and I was playing high stakes on stars, and he kind of ran by the table because he was drinking with friends, and he wasn't playing, and he ran by the table, and he just unplugged my laptop. So I said something like, yo, Elke, you know, like, just sit down, you idiot, like, act normal here. And he starts, you know, trash talking. And one of my friends says something like, Elke, sit down or we'll beat you. And Elke said, you cannot beat me, you cannot fight me. And I was like, oh, really, you think so? So it was kind of, you know, it starts out as a little, like, macho thing, but then it became kind of serious, and we started. So then I told Elke, you think you can kickbox? And I've done some boxing when I was younger and stuff like that. So he's like, yeah, I think so, because he had been training for a bet with Sorel that got canceled. So I say, okay, try to kick me. So he kicks me, and he kicks me like on my elbow, and I just kind of like, oh, that's not that impressive. And so then we started negotiating, and we were going to do it a year later in Vegas, and we both started training really late for that, way too late, and then I was completely injured because my coach beat me down once, and I bruised 4 ribs, and I ripped my spleen almost.
Oh,
and yeah, so then we kind of canceled it, and we thought, you know, let's try to make a bigger thing out of it, because of course, you know, with the Theo Jorgensen against Gus Hansen fight, a lot of people will want to see it. I mean, of course, it's good marketing, all that stuff. So let's try to make a bigger event out of it and postpone it a year. And he was all for it because he hadn't really been training either. So we're going to do it in Vegas this last year. But then Black Friday came up. And suddenly it was really hard to try to get anything done with regulation-wise. And we're not going to fight with any protective gear. So it's going to be listed as a professional fight. And just hosting the fight would have cost us like $35K, and they didn't want poker players to do something like that, and people were asking questions, and we're just kind of like, we don't want to deal with all this during Scoop and right before the WSOP. So then we postponed it again to after the summer. But what I also tell people always, it's not really, when people say, you know, it's never going to happen, and I'm just like, yeah, that's not really your problem, because it's a bet between me and him. So. But we pretty much signed off because we didn't want somebody training for a year for nothing and then suddenly canceling the bet. So we signed off that we have to fight. So, I mean, the fight is 100% going to take place. Also because I think I'm going to destroy him, and he thinks he's going to crush me. I mean, that's reason enough for us to do it. We have planned it in mid-November in Spain because there's going to be a big TV production for a poker thing there. And they told us that they would gladly shoot everything and set everything up, so that's perfect for us. And yeah, so that's what we're aiming for right now.
Wow. So you're training every day?
I mean, I haven't really been training after the summer. I just think that he's training harder than I did. He just spent a month in Thailand, but I just don't think that, working out is not fighting. I mean, he's never been in a fight in his whole life. I don't think I think I'm more athletic than him, so I'm not too worried about it. And of course, I'm going to prepare and stuff like that. And I've trained before the summer, but I've been injured a lot. So what I'm going to do mostly is just make sure I'm fit, and I think I'll be good.
What else?
Nice.
What else is on the horizon? Anything else? Any other crazy prop bets? Any big tournaments coming up? What do you got?
No. Well, actually, I think I know that some people are talking about fighting bets, and I like fighting a lot. Like the training for it, and it has helped me a lot in my poker career and my stamina and just being in shape and stuff like that. And I've done sports all my life, so it really rejuvenated my my love for sports. I know that Antonius always wants to fight people for money, but he seems a hell of a lot scarier to me than Elke. He's not a spot.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, I mean, if you see that picture of him with the Terminator face and everything, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think Elke is a spot in prop betting. He's a fish, and that's fine. But I'm not gonna do some guy who's naturally talented at sports. I'm not gonna fight him.
Right.
Unless you get the right odds.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I heard that he wanted to give Mark Voss like 20-1 in a boxing match. So who knows? But I don't know, man. I'm not really planning any prop bets or craziness, but I mean, I'm hope that they're gonna shoot the big game again. I think that's a fantastic show, and I would love to play on there. But other than that, I mean, if the craziness comes along, I might jump into it. But for right now, it's just learning PLO and trying to move up.
Nice. Well, listen, we appreciate you coming on the show, and we also appreciate you checking out the show because we found out sort of off the air that you're a big fan and you've watched a bunch of the interviews, so we appreciate that.
Yeah, no, but I think you guys are amazing at what you do, so, yeah. Thanks for having me.
We're just stupid and curious. That's all you got to be. Thank you. Thank you, Lex. Really appreciate it. We'll get you on again sometime.
All right, I hope so, man. Thanks a lot for having me.
Awesome.
Good luck. Thanks.